guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Repopulate Mars, Sink or Swim, John Summit, sort of like this style, a modern minimal tech house. We're going to be talking not just about how to make the drop, but also how to make the build up, and some new techniques for all the individual elements that I haven't shown you guys yet as well. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything right there for this video is available at the top of the description on my Bandcamp for just $5. You get a really full template with a ton of stuff to work with. It's super cheap, but it's some of the best samples on the market. Once again, this really helps support me. I don't make a whole lot just off of YouTube ads and stuff like that. But if I've helped you, and if you guys enjoy these videos, I'd really appreciate it if you go grab that. Again, it's going to really help keep me going so I can keep bringing you guys new videos. And yeah, let's dive in. Alright, so, first thing going on here is going to be the kick. Now, this is a little bit of a new method for making the kick that I haven't shown you guys before. And what it is we're using one layer, which is just like a super solid fat low end layer. Just like nice fat 909 style kick. And then yeah, I've just got the low end there. This automation here is just in the build up when it does the, just so that doesn't get too out of control. You know, little stuff like that you gotta do to just kind of make it work. But essentially there's that, and then we're using this layer, which is actually a 909 kick, which we are then high passing. And essentially, it's a distorted 909 kick. So it starts like this. You can hear it's like not the hardest kick, but it's that nice fat 909 sort of classic sound. And then what you can do is a lot of times you can take a kick like that and just kind of make it a little bit more crunchy and fat with distortion, and you'll get more punch out of it. So we're doing that. But then if you listen, the low end isn't quite the same and isn't as fat as that tech house kick. So we take just the mids and highs and then you layer it. And there you go. It creates its own new kick. So it's a great way to do that because you can kind of control the high end layer, you know, distort that to taste. Get that good crunch out of it. And then get the low end layer sounding right without messing that up. And also I'll talk a little bit about in the build, you can see it does like this. That's really got to do with the filtering a little bit too. But just having that fill, you know, not just having it just straight quarter notes the whole way through. And the next thing inside of this group, this low end group here, is just the bass line, which is really simple. We're in the key of A sharp minor, and if you look here, it's just two notes. It's pretty much just the root note, or it is just the root note and the minor third. And if you look at that, you know, from a chord perspective, it's really just, again, like the basic note that establishes what key we're in, and then the note that tells you if it's major or minor. So yeah, we got that in there. Very simple bass line, but it's very groovy. And then for the sound, it's a very simple bass line. Now, I've actually seen this broken down by the man John Summit himself, and it's a really simple bass that you use. Essentially, it's just a saw wave going into a low-pass filter. He even uses the operator, like the exact same setup here, and then the low-pass filter just has an envelope on it. So you get this, and then we're just putting it through a little bit of a low pass. And that's all you gotta do to make that bass like you hear in Forgotten One and Deep End and all those tracks. The secret there, though, is that we're adding something a little bit to it. As you can see, I turned off the FM here. It's just playing every oscillator like one by one without doing any actual modulation between them. But then we're bringing in a little bit of a sine wave as well for a little bit of sub. And then another secret to this bass is obviously sidechaining it, but really just like keeping the sidechain is the only effect. Like you really don't need anything other than that, because at the end of the day, this bass is really more about just kind of preserving this rather than taking this and trying to make it like way bigger and fatter. You don't need that. You just need to like let that shine. So yeah, and then we have all this low end stuff in a group, and the only reason for that is just to have this high pass filter, which you can see is automating a bit in that build up, and then it goes down, and then over here. It's like putting those in a group and doing it all at once. Then we have the hi-hats. So you can hear it's a pretty solid amount of hi-hats. In total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're all doing kind of different things, right? Like, obviously, like, we have sort of a few layers for our main hi-hat. And then we have some kind of bouncing around that. And yeah, it's really just about having enough, you know what I mean? Like, you need to make sure you have enough of these that it's going to sound big and fat. But then also having enough of the background ones to fill it in properly. And you can hear that's not really that hard, right? Like, you just go through and make each element one by one, but it's just a matter of, like, not doing too much while also not having too few. And another thing you'll notice for the arrangement is that in the break, we do have hi-hats, obviously. But we're saving certain ones for the drop so that then all of a sudden we get over here and it feels so much more full. And then we have like the main clap, which is 2 layers. So it's this clap and then the snare layered together. So you get a little bit of the with the and it makes a nice texture. Then we have sort of like this background percussion. So this is just a bunch of different little percussive sounds. It's 4 of them in total. You can hear them with that main hi-hat. That's kind of the groove. So it's just a bunch of different stuff here that all grooves together. The secret is that even though some of these are overlapping, they're all playing off of each other. Like this, like these two, for example. Like stuff like that. So that's what you want to do. You want to use this to create little groups. And you'll notice even with this, I left some of them out in the break there. Then we have these 2 loops. And it's these 2 ravey, honestly kind of like some techno loops. But what I've done here is we're creating like this nice call and response groove here. Where basically you get half of one and then half of the other. Like one is finishing the other sentence. And it's really a background thing, but if I turn it off, we just don't have quite as much energy as when you have this. So we got that, but again, that's something that you want to leave out in the break and then just save for the drop to make that feel more full. Then we have these sounds, which all kind of fit together in that they're basically like the background kind of like glowing sounds. Like these are just these little like kind of cool groove of sounds that happen. You can see like, you know, it's all pretty simple stuff like this. This is just using the same 2 notes as the bass line. And it's just like this wavetable patch, 2 saw waves, octave apart, bunch of unison, some distortion, reverb. Auto pan to make it bounce out. We have like a little stab. A little vocal reverse thing. You can hear like some of these have 2 grooving off of each other, like this wavetable here, which is just a simple synth, kind of grooves with the clap. And then here we just have which is also the same 2 notes as the bass line. And these are all simple wavetable patches. Like it's just a saw wave, a little bit of a low pass filter there. You can actually ignore that automation. But these are just those little background sounds that kind of bring the track to life. Like if I turn them off, you'll see how important they are. Right? Like, it's a bit too dry without these. You need something like this that's just kind of like constantly playing off of itself. Like, you can hear that's just gonna give you that last little bit of like kind of fullness in the track and energy. Without it, it's missing a lot of energy, and it kind of feels like the intro or something. So then we have this little Arp Synth, and this is a sound that you only hear in the build-up. Now, if you guys don't know, I actually created the synth sound from Forgotten One. That is the ARP. The ARP and the break in that track is actually from my original Bicep tutorial from back in 2018. So I was trying to make something in that similar vibe to show you. So we have this ARP here, which is this nice, like, repetitive ARP that is very synthy and has that cool kind of like almost techno sounding like minor feel. But it's not like too many notes. It's still kind of catchy and rhythmic. So the key to this is that we're actually just using like a pretty basic A sharp minor chord, right? Like if you look at this, it's actually just 3 notes: A sharp, C sharp, and F, and then we're just repeating C sharp and F up an octave. So if you're gonna write an ARP like this in this kind of a track, you know, you don't want too many notes. You don't want it to be too confusing or too complex, so it's not catchy. You want to stick to like 2 or 3. Maybe 4 notes tops. And then it's just this repetitive pattern where it's basically that like building where you get the na na na, like the high note and then a higher note. And then for the sound with this one, it's made with wavetable, so it's just a saw wave. We have a low pass filter here which is automating up. Go back down again, you can see. And yeah, we got the filter 1 frequency there. With an envelope, and then on this unison on the position sync setting, we have a bit of a flanger. So again, this is really similar to that original ARP that I created that was used. It's like a flanger with a little bit of erosion on it. That's the secret to the sound, essentially. But again, it's a nice way to create one of these kind of ARPs for this type of a track, because again, usually like in tech house like this, you wouldn't want to get too synthy, right? You would want to keep it more rhythmic and basic, but this is a nice element. And then the other element here is that we have some automation with this delay, with the feedback and the dry wet, just to make that build up even stronger at the end. Then we have the vocals. So yeah, it's just these 2 different vocal samples, you know. I like the contrast here. I like having the 2 that are like different things so that you have, you know, it's not just the same thing the whole way through. It's a little bit more exciting and a little bit catchier as well this way. So this is just like really about like what you like the sample, right? Like it's not about that much processing. Like the processing, you know, just a little bit of reverb, a little bit of drum bus on each of them to make them a bit crunchier and fatter. You can see I've got some echo on the second one, and then a high pass filter. But you really want to like spend a lot of time trying to find the best vocal samples rather than like worrying about processing too much, because it's really more about that than it is about some magical processing change. Another technique here that I actually haven't really talked about that much on this channel is kind of like using the rhythm in the vocal along with the delay. Like you can hear how this quarter note delay goes really well with that. The na 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 na. So just kind of like thinking of it like that rather than just like dropping a random delay on there. Then we just have like a 909 snare. Pretty simple, just straight 16th notes, and then it's got a volume automation. And then over here I also have it. We have a little white noise sweep, which is just made with operator, really simple. You can see, yeah, so just a bit of white noise, and then a bandpass filter. That's an important tip. I think a lot of times people think to use a low pass, but it's actually a bandpass filter that's going to sweep nicely. And then you're going to just go all the way down, and then it goes like back up here. Slowly. And then over here, we get that too. Get a little build up. Another little build up. You know, pretty straightforward stuff. I have a crash. We have this little 808 snare which just plays. Like that. And then there's these little background effects. And these just kind of like support the main one, right? Like we have like this. It's kind of like our main effect. Like the snare and that white noise. But then if we add in these, you just get some nice kind of support to that. Just to kind of fill the track out. And especially like here with this one kind of just pulling some extra energy to at the end. You know, it can really help that build up feel a bit more full and kind of give it that extra little touch to really pull the whole thing together. And yeah. So that was going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, literally everything, the whole template. So you can turn it into a track yourself or just learn from it and follow along. Or just work with the samples. Anything you want to do is all available in the description. And yeah, thank you so much for all the support, guys. Again, every sale, this really helps keep me going. I don't make a whole lot just off of YouTube. But with the sample packs and different things like this, I'm able to keep bringing you guys new videos every single day and new content. And yeah, so if you enjoy this, really consider supporting me. Again, every little bit helps. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.